You look terrified, my friend. Well, of course, it's you always.
I wouldn't have to be wearing the shirt.
Well, red duct tape always terrifies me.
But especially when you're tied to a chair with that one.
Hello and welcome to Wages of Cine's 31 Days of Horror 2016. I am Eric Miller with my special guest,
Freddy Krueger. Oh, wait. Eric Bowe.
Eric Bowe. As my movies this year, I chose the first originals from a long series, and tonight we reviewed
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street as
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
a nightmare, not the nightmare, because there are many.
And not just Nightmare. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Wes Craven.
Wes Craven wrote and
Awesome.
directed.
All right, let me read the quick synopsis
Go
for
ahead.
the fans. Several people are hunted by a cruel serial killer who kills the victims in their dreams. While the survivors are trying to find the reason for being chosen, the murderer won't lose any chance to kill them as soon as they fall asleep. So, Mr. Poe,
Yes.
you are a strapping young man like myself. What did you think about this?
Well, of course, this actually came out in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Quite some time ago, but I was a teenager at the time, so although I didn't see it in the theater, I saw it shortly afterwards when it was out on either VHS or Laserdisc, perhaps.
VHS, kids.
Or Laserdisc.
Wow.
But anyway, my friends and I would get together and we would watch these horror films, and this one was a particularly frightening horror film because you know, it just had all these images, sleep images, things that you can't get away from it. You got to sleep every day. Well, almost every day.
If you're Donald Trump, you sleep for 4 hours.
I guess. If you some of these people in the film, you go for, a week and a half.
I know, you just take some pills and you're good to go. I will admit that what I did not realize is I have actually never seen this movie before. I watched it for this review.
Wow.
I was of the age where when I first heard about A Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger, it was around number 3.
Okay.
What is that? Dream Warriors? And I think I watched Dream Warriors and I was kind of like, okay, I get it, and then I never actually watched the first 2. I watched Dream Warriors on.
Okay.
So it was my virgin experience for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, and that happens, and I've noticed that when these things, like when it first came out, it was just another horror film. It was similar to Friday the 13th and similar to Halloween and these other films, but then it became a thing. It became a series, and now it's part of pop culture knowledge.
Yes.
Everybody knows who Freddy Krueger is, even if they've never seen any Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's an image, and it's in people's consciousness.
An icon.
It is. It's certainly an
Starting
icon.
All right.
So,
Do you have a favorite scene from the movie?
wow.
I mean, there's lots of, like I said.
Well, the thing that I will say about the movie, and going back and watching it now, there are a lot of cheesy effects and cheesy scenes that really didn't seem as cheesy back then, but now, especially with CGI and the great, graphics that people have in their movies these days. But one of my favorites, and even back then I could see it was kind of cheesy, was at the very end. Spoiler, we're going spoilers here, so if you don't want the spoilers,
Stop watching.
stop watching, go watch the movie, come back and watch the review. But one of my favorite scenes at the very end of the movie, when they're in the car and driving away and the hand comes out and grabs the mom.
Grabs the mannequin.
Grabs the mom, the blow-up doll, the mannequin, whatever it is, and pulls it through the window.
Being my first time watching that, the kids pull up, everybody's fine and alive, and I'm like, hey, Freddy got his, he got on, everyone's back alive, everyone's happy. And then the what's it called?
The roof of the car, the ragtop.
The convertible ragtop comes over and it's Freddy colors, and I'm like, wait a minute.
You're like, something's going on here, I don't know what's going on.
But yes, my favorite scene, being the first time, I liked when the first, I guess, dream murder happened, and the girl's in her bed, and then she's being, I guess, manipulated around the room, bloody murder. And of course, that was all, practical, when they probably had a room on an axis so that she could crawl on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I just like that.
That's a good scene. That really is a good
Lots
scene.
of blood. And I was like, oh, that guy's in the corner like.
Something that I thought about when I rewatched it, and I had no idea when I was younger, but I was watching that scene because it's Tina and Rod is the asshole is Rod. Those are the two that are in the room together. Tina's the first murderer.
Yeah.
And I was watching that scene and I was like, now that I know the story of, these other things, I was wondering if it might have actually been inspired by Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen. I don't know if you're familiar with Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols.
I've heard stories.
Okay. Well, Sid Vicious was a musician, a punk rock musician, so he wasn't much of a musician, and a singer.
Wasn't he one of the founders of punk?
He was. I mean, the Sex Pistols are very, very influential.
Sorry.
But what happened was he was British and he was living in the States. He was dating a woman named Nancy Spungen. And they were drug users, a lot of drugs. So one night, they take some drugs, and the next morning, he wakes up, and she's dead. She's been stabbed, kind of beaten and stabbed, and she's dead in the room. And the police come and arrest him, and
clearly it's Freddy Krueger.
Before he got sentenced from his trial, he overdosed and died. So he never got sentenced, but I was like, that locked room, everybody comes in, there's a dead body there, and the guy's like, I didn't do it, I don't know what happened. I'm like,
there you go.
Easily had been inspired by that, which happened in 1979.
I read that one of the things that gave Wes Craven the idea for this movie was that he read about some tribes out there in the wilderness, and people were literally dying in their sleep of their dreams, and he thought, how can that happen? And that, I guess, pointed him to, Cat, do not touch the tripod. Sorry, you can edit that out.
I read that same thing, and I had heard about those things before as well. So I thought that was very interesting that he would pull from these things from other cultures to scare the crap out of us. So thanks a lot, Wes Craven, not to be confused with Wes Anderson, by the way. So
stop it. This movie has Heather Langenkamp.
Heather Langenkamp.
Johnny Depp's first.
Johnny Depp, absolutely.
Proto Depp, if you will. And this is the movie probably that made Robert Englund famous.
Yes. This and probably V eventually after, I don't remember which came first.
This was post V.
It was, but V and this kind of really put Robert Englund on the map. So.
Yeah, he had a role for life with Freddy Krueger.
He did, absolutely. Until they kicked him out and got somebody else to
always room for Freddy Krueger.
But I was going to say, another thing that I looked at as I was watching this movie, not really thinking about it years ago, but thinking about it now, it had some iconic character types, archetypes from horror movies.
Yes.
Heather Langenkamp, the kind of smart, somewhat nerdy girl, a little bit prudish, the virgin character. Johnny Depp, the kind of preppy, almost nerdy but not quite nerdy character. The friend Tina, who is willing to sleep with the guy who comes over to her house that night, and the asshole. Those are kind of iconic archetype characters.
Yes. I was thinking of Cabin in the Woods, the 5 archetypes.
Cabin in the Woods. They were missing the fool in here, I think, a little bit. They didn't really have a goofy character in this one.
Yeah, unless they rotated fool from being goofy character to being the person who refuses to believe what's happening.
Could be.
His being
Could
fool.
be.
I don't know. Who knows?
Almost a mom character.
I would say we could ask Wes Craven, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But,
any more thoughts?
Well, let's see what I have here in my notes. I have, let's see, the Shakespeare. They talked about Shakespeare in the classroom, and I thought that was very interesting and clever of a horror movie to reach out to this classic literature thing, something we can all play into, and they talked a lot about Hamlet. They talked about a lot of Shakespeare stuff, but specifically the guy who apparently was Daryl Hannah's brother in real life was reading from Hamlet in the classroom, and I was like, well, that's kind of smart, because Hamlet's this character that's really not crazy. He knows what's going on in the play, but everybody thinks he's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's Heather Langenkamp. She knows what's going on, but everybody thinks she's crazy.
Everybody, yeah. And the story of Freddy Krueger, actually he's named Fred Krueger in this one.
Fred Krueger.
Everyone knows, but no one kind of talks about it. It's kind of a hush-hush because of
it's a secret.
his past and what happened to him. But so when they mention his name, everyone's like, nah, that's not it.
Yeah, I thought it was, there were some parts that obviously I was like, okay, I'm trying to suspend my disbelief a little bit, because there was obviously proof that this thing was actually happening when they did the sleep study, the dream study, and she had a hat with her and she was burned. And
nice hat.
But then people still weren't, didn't believe her, mom in particular, even though her mother knew about this situation that she didn't tell her about while all this is happening. And, how many people have to die before, you just speak up?
Yeah, like I said, I started number 3, so I went back, I watched 1 and then I watched 2, because I found them, on the 2 for DVD. And I appreciate this movie, and I guess its sequel, because to me, this is Freddy Krueger before he gets kind of campy. In the sequels, where it goes like, hey, I'm going to give you a snazzy one-liner and then I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And it just kind of lost it's still scary, it just became, let's figure out a new way to die.
Yeah. My son said the same thing. He didn't watch the whole thing, but he came in and he goes, oh, this must be before they turned him into a campy one-liner character. Yeah. That kind of,
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too.
Yeah, really, by the time he met Jason Voorhees, Freddy vs. Jason, that was very, very, very campy.
We should review that someday.
We should.
Yeah, so...
I'm not dressing like Jason Voorhees.
But that's what Robert Englund is known for, and that's how Freddy Krueger evolved, so...
It is. And, I like this movie as a standalone movie.
Yeah.
I like the series as the campy series that it became, but I definitely like this one as a standalone film. And it's good, solid all the way through, and really, I think what made this film for me, and kind of keeps people coming back, is the pacing of it was spot on. Even if you had campy, goofy special effects, the time pacing, all the way through. 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes, you get your first kill, your first death, and then there's one about every 10 to 15 minutes or so for the rest of the way through the film, and it's action.
Freddy mostly stays in the shadows, so the menace is still there, as opposed to, like I said, the sequels where it's like, hey, I'm over here dancing or something, I'm pushing a baby carriage with a little baby Freddy. And who can forget the iconic Freddy Claw.
The Freddy Claw.
Which shows up in many movies.
Yeah, I don't have any of those.
It appeared in Evil Dead in the basement.
It did appear in Evil Dead. I'm pretty sure it appeared in Jason Goes to Hell, which was the 9th Friday the 13th movie, where it comes out of the ground and
the final
pulls the mask.
And with the laugh. Whatever that's about. Yes. Okay.
But let's see what else I got. The pacing I wanted to talk about. I also wondered at one point when I was watching this, did Kevin from Home Alone watch this movie when he figured out how to booby trap his home? Because Heather Langenkamp,
if you're gonna
booby trapped her.
If you're gonna rig a sledgehammer and just swing down and hit Freddy in the nuts, you should have had it hit him in the head and maybe even kill him.
He's a demon. He's dead already.
Back to the sequelitis. I read somewhere. I've watched very few of these, but I read the source of his power, which is revealed like 10 movies later. It's like, really? What? But whatever makes money.
So, of course, whatever makes money. But I was watching that thinking how very much like Kevin in Home Alone that was, where he was booby trapping things and she was setting that up. Which, by the way, she had talked to her dad. She said, come bust down the door in 10 minutes and I'm going to have this guy. And in the time that she did that whole booby trapping where she's drilling stuff and whatever. I'm like, you maximized that 10 minutes.
Father played by John Saxon.
John Saxon, and another classic.
I love John Saxon.
John Saxon is fantastic.
He might be the unbelieving fool to complete the Pentagon.
Yes.
So, yeah, but I have here in my notes, this movie has spawned 7 sequels, 1 remake starring
Jackie Earle Haley.
Let's see, there's another remake in the works.
Okay.
A remake.
A remake? It's
Double
not a
reboot.
sequel to the remake.
I think it's trying to reboot from the start. It had a TV show, Freddy's Nightmares, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I ever watched Freddy's Nightmares, so I'm not sure. I don't know anything
I
about
don't
that
think anyone
particular
watched
show.
Freddy's Nightmares.
Well, yeah. So,
What else, babe?
no, I think that is all of the things that I had planned to talk about.
Relatively spoiler-free.
I think we did get spoiler-free in the thing.
Mostly.
Except we gave away the complete ending, the twist ending. But
We being you.
So, it's my favorite scene.
As Wages of Cine does, we are going to rate this. The scale is, usually we use a poop scale, 1 to 5 poops if it's a bad movie. Or if it's a good movie, or a good bad movie, you can do 1 to 5.
Something else.
Something usually from the movie.
Usually from the movie.
You want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
I will give this movie, being my first time watching it, and I'll probably watch it again in a couple weeks, I'll give it 4 Captain Jack Sparrow. Because
See,
Johnny Depp.
I see what you did.
You see what I did there?
I see what you did. So,
Yes.
I, after having watched it again, and it is a great movie. A lot of the special effects don't hold up as well as they did in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it 3.5 dogs playing pool. And if you don't know what that reference is from, there's a
Whoa. The poster, the
There's
famous
a poster or a tapestry hanging in the basement nearby where Freddy's blades were kept for
We've come to
decades.
see the tapestries.
And
Sorry.
it was dogs playing pool. And I only noticed that this time around. I didn't notice it before.
See,
but
now
that's
you have that hat on, I'm thinking of Indiana Jones, we've come to view the tapestries.
dogs playing pool.
3.5 dogs playing pool. Very good.
Come to check the
We
tapestries.
come to view the tapestries. Sorry.
All right.
So that's it for this review. I'll invite Eric Poe back in some evening or day, whenever, and we'll review another movie.
We
Well,
will.
thanks for watching, everybody, and I guess sleep well if you can, because this guy might come in your dreams.
If you can't, maybe some no-dos,
Yeah, just defense. All right.
All right, once again, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Questions?
Yeah! What are you on? Looks like a frying pan and some eggs to me.